Hello, we're about to start the Cheeky Scientist radio show. Good to see you on if you're watching us on YouTube, and good to see you if you're in the group watching. Hello? Hello? The lighting looks better on your phone. Alright, hello, we're going to get started here in just a minute.
Would you like to do an intro for,
See if I can find. Here we go. Yeah, let's do it. Ready?
remember it's like 15 seconds.
15 seconds, got it. Hello, we're about to get started with the first public.
Sorry.
Hello, we're about to get started with the first public Cheeky Scientist radio show. Make sure you tune in. You can follow us, watch live on YouTube or our Facebook page.
Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Seema. Good to see you on. Hi, everybody. Oh, you're on YouTube? You're good?
Yep, we're good.
Oh, this is just a little bit. Because I'm shorter. Alright, so now we're going to get on. If you're watching this on YouTube, we're about to get started on our Cheeky Scientist radio show. Why and how PhDs are leaving academia for industry. I see a lot of our members watching too. Hello, Vasuda. Hello, Amber. Good to see you on. Hey, something like that. You are live. Okay, good. Our members are able to join us on Zoom so that they can chat with us, ask us their questions, we can bring us on live, etc. If you are on early watching us, we will have a chance for you to call in and ask your questions. Maybe you're a PhD who's thinking about getting an industry job. We can help you, whether you have a resume question, a LinkedIn question, etc. So I'm going to take this time to introduce some of our team who you're probably already seeing. Let me see if maybe not. So we have on with us first here, you're seeing Mary. So hi Mary, how are you?
Hello everyone, welcome.
Good to see you, Mary. Mary will be helping out on the chat box. So if you're watching us on our Facebook fan page and you see somebody respond to you and help you with your question, that's Mary. Mary will be adding links into the comment section for things that I talk about, especially in the Show Me the Data section, which is one of the sections we will be starting with. So very, very excited for this. Also, we have on Kathy. Hi, Kathy. How are you?
Great, thanks.
So Kathy is still fairly recently back from Antarctica, right, Kathy? You were there. When did you get back? In March, right?
March. Yeah, I was there in February.
And then you came right into a heat wave in the UK, so it must have been nice to go from sub-zero to super hot temperatures.
Tropical.
Tropical, yeah. So Kathy's on, and she has done a lot of work to help us get this radio show live. So I want to say hi to Kathy. We also have on Vanessa. Hi, Vanessa.
Hello. Super excited about this.
Thank you. Thank you for all your help. Let me turn this down a little bit. Question real quick. What is this?
Say hi.
Hi to, hello to Antonio on YouTube and Andre on YouTube. Good to see you. Vanessa, don't worry, I'm still coming back to you. So Vanessa is our lead producer for the radio show. Vanessa, who do we have coming on today? I know I'm going to introduce them later, but maybe you can drop some names really quickly for us.
Today we have coming on Dawn Asher, who's super popular in the characters. We also have on Pascal Mueller, who did a great article about active schooling and has a call to action.
Let me turn that music off. So speak up a little bit. So we have Pascal coming on.
Yes, we have Pascal coming on, and we also have Dawn Asher. In addition, we have a Cheeky who's transitioned, Owen Energy, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. And last but not least, Jeanette, how are you? Good to see you on. So you're very quiet. Let me see if I can turn your volume up. I might want to get that a little bit closer. Still pretty quiet. I don't know. Let me see if I can. Vanessa, right? Vanessa, Kathy, are you hearing her quiet too, or is it just me?
Oh, go ahead. Speak up. Hello. Hi. A little better.
A little bit better. Yeah, we can try without the headphones too. Sometimes the computer feed is better than the headphone feed for whatever reason. But how are you, Jeanette? Regardless of whether or not we can hear you, you can still mouth the words of how you are.
I am doing wonderful. I'm so excited to be here.
Great. So yeah, so Jeanette is going to come on with us during the Show Me the Data section. So we're going to go through quite a few things, really the current state of things in academia for PhDs. We'll touch on everything from what PhDs are being paid. We'll touch on their mental states, some trends that we're seeing in terms of anxiety, depression, etc. But it's not going to be all doom and gloom. We are also going to be discussing exactly how you can start setting yourself up for career success. So thank you to all of our team members for coming on early. We're going to get started officially here in just 1 minute. And again, if you're watching this live for the first time, this is our first public radio show. You can call in and ask your questions. So stay tuned for that. Very, very excited for today. Vanessa, Jeanette, maybe you can get on, or Kathy, and just work out that audio issue, and then we will get started here very, very shortly. And for all of you on here, all of you members, hello. I see quite a few of you on. I want to shout out to some of you. Let me see if I can get your names up. So we have on Alex, hello. Anuka, hello. Caitlin, hello. Dan, good to see you. Derek, Alisa, Emma, Eric, Erica, good to see you on. Lisa, hello. Karan, hello. Manish, hello. May, Meju, hello. Good to see you on too. There we go. All right, so this is the first radio show, the first Cheeky Scientist radio show. I'm going to say hi to everybody. So hello for those of you that are on YouTube. We are getting started now. Good to see you on. Those of you that are in the private group, this is the private group here. This is YouTube, private group. Good to see you on. Raul, Sylvia, thank you for joining. Silvina, good to see you too. And then of course this, for those of you that are on Facebook, this is our live stream. We have lots of support for you today in the comment box. If you have any questions, you can ask them whether you're on YouTube So whether you're in the private group or if you're on our public page here, we are everywhere. Very excited to start the first Cheeky Scientist radio show, so welcome officially to Cheeky Scientist Radio. We have a lot of ground to cover today. Very, very excited to get started. So this is the setup that we have. We are live streaming on YouTube right now. You can go to our Cheeky Scientist YouTube page, you can watch us there. You can also watch us on Facebook. Our Facebook fan page is what it's called, Cheeky Scientist, again there. And of course, for all of our members, you're seeing me either in the private group currently, this is for our Cheeky Scientist Associates, or you are already in Zoom. So make sure that you jump in Zoom if you can, because you can ask your questions in the chat box. I see all of you now, and I want to say a special thank you to all of our members who are in Zoom, who are interacting with us in chat right now. So, very excited. What is Cheeky Scientist Radio? So this is something that we've been working on for several months so that we can get the message of how to get into a job where you are paid what you're worth and you can still do meaningful PhD level work. Really, that is our mission at Cheeky Scientist, and that's the mission of this radio show. We're going to bring on guests. We have a lot of what we call our external guests, people that are in media, people that are currently working in industry, that are going to come on, and they're going to help us cross that bridge. They're going to show you how you can get from academia and the academic mindset you likely have into industry and to develop a confident and successful industry mindset. Because again, that is our goal. We also have what we call our internal guests, which are PhDs who have come through our program, the Cheeky Scientist Association, have transitioned into industry successfully. They're going to come on and tell you their stories so that you can see what they did, what changes did they make, what did they do to their resume, what did they do to their LinkedIn profile. We're going to talk about some tactical stuff, but also a lot of high-level strategic stuff. We will take your questions. We do have a phone number that you can call in if you have a question. We have obviously the comment section on Facebook and in YouTube. We have people at all of those stations to help. And then for all of our members, you get direct access, of course, here in Zoom. So I'm going to share my screen and show a few different things here very, very quickly. And I just want our members, if you can, do me a favor and tell me if you can see my screen. So if you can see my screen, what you should be seeing is something that says, "Welcome to the Cheeky Scientist Association." Now, this is part of our platform, and I'm going to be speaking a little bit to our members here, but this is our platform, our training platform, where we go through everything from how to update your resume to make it not a 6-page CV, but an actual industry resume that'll get you hired, how to create a LinkedIn profile, etc. We have multiple modules here. I do want to mention to our members that in Module 4, right, so this month's focus, and this is both for members, non-members, we are focusing here at Cheeky Scientist on interviews. Okay, interviewing, and we're going to move into salary negotiation soon. If you've been on our Facebook page at all, or you've seen us on LinkedIn, anywhere else, you know we've been talking about this. For our members that have access to this dashboard, only our members have access to this, you can go through the interview preparation training, the questions and answers, how to ask questions during the interviews, how to set up questions that will showcase you as the most qualified candidate. This is all in Module 4. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a quick preview of Module 4 if you haven't been there yet, especially for you new members. Make sure you check out Module 4. For our members also, we are opening up enrollment to our advanced program. This is only for members, but we have an advanced program for those of you that want to get into R&D positions. This is it was one of our most requested items ever. We had so many PhDs who wanted to get into R&D, but didn't really understand how to do so, and quickly realized that they were really good at the R part of R&D, right, the research, but had very little training in the D part. And I'm guessing for those of you that are watching publicly, this is the case for you. If you're in academia, you have a lot of experience in research, very little experience in development, okay, R&D. You know, you got a big R, you have a very little D. So we created this program. We partnered with some amazing professionals currently working in industry. One of the program leaders is Trojan Staffa. He is a senior scientist at Estee Lauder. We have people in this program that are associate directors. We have one associate director at Regeneron. Great program. It is a separate program with separate training modules that focus exclusively on getting into R&D positions. So if you're looking for more intensive training, more specific training, more structured training, and a separate addition to what you're already receiving to accelerate your ability to get into an R&D position, this is the program for you. Of course, the R&D program does have its own private group, so I'm showing here, this is one of the private groups for the association. and still very active. So I want to say hello and welcome to all of you new members once again. We are up to, just in this private group, over 4,000 members, right? So the association overall has over 5,000 members. This advanced program that I'm talking about, the R&D program, the R&D Society, whoops. The R&D Society also has its own private program here. So for those of you that have been asking questions, is there a private group? Is it completely separate? It is. There's been a lot of great things happening in this group with Clojin and with ABBA and a lot of our associates who have experience in R&D positions at the highest level. Again, all the way up to associate director. They're in this program. They will help you get into those R&D positions. There is a separate private group for it. Okay, so we're going to move forward here to what we call is the Show Me the Data section. Are we ready for the Show Me the Data section? Okay. So we're going to go through Show Me the Data. Show Me the Data is all about digging through the data, showing you what's actually going on in academia and industry, where the jobs are, what the hiring trends are, what the trends are in terms of the positions, etc. Okay, so we're going to jump on here with Jeanette. I just want to make sure very quickly one more time that you can all see my screen. So just type in data. You can see my screen for the members that are here with us in Zoom. All right, and Jeanette, you can hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh man, that's so much better. Thank
Awesome.
you. Good job.
Yep.
Good job. Okay, so what we're looking at here is whether or not PhDs feel supported by their advisors. And this is one of those charts where I get really excited about it because there's like multiple colors and like things going on. And then I realize how non-intelligent I am because I can't quite figure out what it's showing. So maybe you can help walk me through this on what it's showing in terms of PhD support.
Yeah, of course. So this one is, it surveyed some students to see how much they felt their advisor was helping them, how supportive they were, and how it was helping them further their career.
Yeah.
That's the big questions that were asked. And if we start just at the top, those where it says contacted potential employers on my behalf, you can see that the red color shows that 41% of people surveyed disagreed with that.
Yeah.
They said that their advisors did not contact employers on their behalf,
Yeah.
right? So they're not able to help you with referrals, right? Because they don't know anyone outside of academia. It's like a tiny bubble. So they all know one another, but they're not really able to help you move outside of that.
Yeah.
And the other one that is really interesting, if we go down to like the third one, where it says, encourage me to attend career training and events.
Yes.
You can see that, well, 40% of people said that their advisors did, support them in that.
Right.
31% of advisors didn't want them going to like career advancement
Yes.
events.
Right.
Right? Like that's the whole point of your getting
Right.
a PhD here is to improve yourself, and it's really discouraging to see that.
Yeah, and so why are we talking about this? I think it's important for you to know because when I was in graduate school, I thought, I have this in the bag, I'm going to have a PhD. My PI is basically like a god, he knows everybody. People on my thesis committee know everybody too, they're going to be able to directly refer me for jobs. And then I found out when I asked them, they literally knew nobody. Right, so contacting employers on your behalf, this means getting referrals. If you think you're going to get a referral from your PI, or for anybody in your thesis committee in terms of getting an industry job or any non-academic job, never going to happen. What's that, Dana Carvey? Not gonna do it. Not gonna happen, right? It's never gonna happen. So I think that's really important for you to realize and not put your eggs in that basket, not think that your PI or somebody else is going to be able to push your career forward. And the networking thing is surprising because some of us might look at this data and be like, oh wow, 40% of PIs are open to letting them attend career training events. I'm guessing most of these are like conferences, right? Or like the events where it's like PhDs only. But the fact that there's still so many PIs that do not encourage and really frown upon and make you feel bad going to a networking event outside of academia, certainly an event that's not just for PhDs, not a conference. It's very common. If that's you, that's wrong. It's not normal. You have to find a way to make space to go to networking events, to start getting referrals, start meeting people in the real world. So Jeanette, next thing is, the next section is how did you arrive at your current career decision? Maybe surprising for some, not for a lot of others, but what is the first bar here that's all the way up at 60% while everything else is down in the 30s at best?
Yeah, the internet.
Yeah.
Right? So the best resource that PhDs are finding to understand where they can go with the incredible skills they've just gained is the internet. Right? This just demonstrates the real lack of guidance that exists within academia for PhDs searching for what are they going to do next.
Right.
They have to just turn to crowdsourcing from the internet.
Yeah, and this is something we're going to discuss. We're going to bring on Don Asher a little bit later in the show, and he is an expert at helping PhDs crack into the hidden job market. Now, guess what? The hidden job market you can't find on the internet. So most PhDs arrived at their career decision. Doesn't mean they got hired from the internet. They just found out about jobs that are available through the internet. What does this mean? It means at your university, if you think you're going to get exposure to all the different jobs that are available to you, they're not. We have most of our associates come in and they only know about 1 or 2 career paths, when there's hundreds, and then certainly 40 or 50 key career paths if you have a PhD, especially a PhD in STEM. So I want to switch gears here because we're going to bring on first, our first guest is Pascal Mueller, who broke the story about everything that was going on at the Max Planck Institute with professors essentially, allegedly, emotionally abusing students, and the institute allegedly also covering this up. We're going to talk to this person, but we thought it might be good to show you some data on how common stress, anxiety, depression is for PhDs. So this next figure, Jeanette, the title is, "Have you ever sought help for anxiety or depression caused by PhD study?" What does it show?
So it shows that 45% of the respondents said yes, that they had experienced anxiety or depression during or were caused by their PhD studies. And right in that, I mean, there's no way to say exactly what's caused that, but we do know that from talking to so many PhDs that the lack of support and the negativity that they're surrounded by leads to this.
And let's be real, like some of this is just what you're going to face as a highly driven person. Like the ups and downs, there's like a lot more peaks and valleys. Because when you're striving for the top of a field, a terminal degree like a PhD, like you're going to have more anxiety. End of story. So I'm not going to try to tell you that your life should be the same way as somebody, working at McDonald's, or somebody who's doing a job that's much easier, right? And I say that respectfully if any of you are working at McDonald's. But the point is that you're going to have some stress. That's okay. And you're going to, because of that stress, you're going to come down and have some valleys of depression. But how does this compare to the normal population? That's what we want to look at. And we're going to look at some data down here, Jeanette, that shows depression in academia. I really like this study, not just because it's very colorful, for those of you who can see the screen, but because it looks at professors versus people in other segments of academia and what their percentages are of mild to severe depression. So it goes by discipline and the student level. So maybe you can walk us through what these 4 categories are and really what the trends are that they show. So I guess it's four different categories within 4 categories and what those trends are.
Yeah, it's a bit of a complex figure. So there are 4 different colored bars that represent 4 different groups of people that they surveyed. So MA is master's students, Doc 1 is PhD students before they've been given candidacy, and then Doc 2 is after they've been granted their PhD, and then the Prof is anyone like a graduate who's employed. So it includes professors and postdocs and things like that. And then the 4 categories are like categories of studies, so humanities, professional studies, STEM, and then social sciences.
Perfect. And so what does it show? I mean, basically overall, it doesn't matter what the study background is, right? If it's humanities, STEM, social science professor, I mean, you're seeing elevated levels, right? I mean, what I would say probably around mid-30s overall, if you took all of these together, percent?
Yeah, I think so. About, mid-30s level of people who are experiencing mild to severe depression, regardless of what they're studying or what level they're at. And I think if you look at the STEM one, that's the one I kind of like to look at because you can see this gradual increase in the amount of stress you're facing because you're slowly realizing, and this depression, what am I going to do now? It's the dead, you can see the dead end coming.
Yeah.
Start to feel that anxiety grow.
Yeah, that was very interesting to me too. So humanities, social sciences, you actually see it gradually go down in terms of people as they go in their career, they experience less stress, but in STEM, it's higher and higher. And professors experience it too. And you might be thinking, oh, professors only experience it at a level of 27% of this sample. But below here, we pulled the data for overall, and this is a US sample, what depression levels were. Now again, the levels we were looking at is probably around, no matter what segment you looked at, about 35%, even for professors, 27%. What are the numbers we're looking at here for the general population?
Yeah, in the general population, it's only 6.7%
Wow.
overall. That first column shows it.
Yes.
Yeah, that in the general population, we've only seen this much, and it's 3-4 times as much in the general population, the academic population.
Almost, I mean, yeah, really, as the lowest one, right? So 6.7% in the general population, we're seeing like 30%, you know, you're looking at like 5 times more stress, anxiety, depression, etc. as a PhD. So if you're feeling that, you're not alone. That's the key. Now, what do you do about it? A big part of it is just taking your career into your own hands, realizing your PhD wasn't a mistake. The path you just probably thought was there isn't there anymore. It's not that you are not valuable, your PhD is not valuable. You just have to apply it in a different way. And the more you keep trying to apply it in a way that's basically becoming extinct, the more stress you're going to experience. And so on that note, I want to switch gears here to the second Show Me the Data page we have here. I want to go through some data here that shows you, you know, if you're experiencing that stress, this is likely why. Okay, if this data is going to, it might seem like it's negative. You're probably watching me like, wow, this radio show is really, really a downer. But trust me, we're going to bring on some great guests. We're going to show you what to do about this. We're not going to leave you hanging, but we have to show you what the situation is so you know why you're stressed, why you're anxious, or why things aren't working out, or why you're doing your third postdoc, right? And I would love to hear from some of you, especially if you're watching us publicly. What year of postdoc are you in? Tell me. You can tell me in any of the chat boxes if you're watching us on YouTube or if you're watching us on Facebook. We would love to hear from you. So this first chart, it's very similar to like 3 charts I'm going to show in a row. And what it shows is it shows that this is first for life sciences versus engineering, and it shows the total number of PhDs, right, being granted during a certain time, right, doctoral recipients is what it says, versus faculty appointments. And you can look at these charts all day, you'll see one thing. Over the last X amount of time, really it's been 30, 40 years now, the number of PhDs being produced, skyrocketing, going up very, very rapidly for a long time. Faculty appointments, stagnant. Just flat across the board, right? And Jeanette, I'm going to circle back to you here, but I want to show these first 3 graphs that essentially show the same thing. I'm showing another graph here. This is comparing non-science and engineering fields with science and engineering fields, the numbers of PhDs produced. This time point is from 1957 to 2016. This is the most recent data from the National Science Foundation. Shows the exact same thing. The increase in PhDs being produced is astounding. We talk about this a lot at Cheeky Scientists. Some countries are increasing the number of PhDs they're producing year over year by 20 to 40%. That's year over year. Okay? If you take just the top 15, 16 countries overall, you're looking at about 750 PhDs in these fields produced every day. If you look at all countries, you're looking at well over 1,000 PhDs produced every day. Now, that would not be a bad thing if there were professorships or academic career tracks for these PhDs, but there's not. I'm showing one final figure that compares annual faculty positions and cumulative faculty positions versus annual PhDs awarded and cumulative PhDs awarded. This was in Nature Biotechnology. You might have a call here. Go ahead. So what does it show? It shows that there is a rapid increase of PhDs being granted. Again, this is from 1982 to 2011. Professorships stagnant. Okay. Now, if you look at the percentages, of PhDs being produced versus faculty appointments, right? You can see on these charts, and for those of you that might be listening by audio, I can tell you that the ratio is dropping. So just in this chart, it was about a 15% ratio. So in like 1982, you're looking at about a 15% ratio in terms of faculty positions to PhDs being granted. At the end of it, you're looking at about a percentage of 8 for faculty positions to PhDs being granted. And this is for all types of faculty positions. Now, another important factor is what kind of faculty positions are even opening up. We think, oh, all faculty positions are the same, but you know that is not the case, right? Are these full-time faculty positions, tenured faculty positions, or are they low-paying adjunct faculty, contract positions, and part-time positions that offer no benefits and pay very, very little? So I'm going to turn to you after this, Jeanette, but this final figure really says it all. This is the percentage of instructional faculty employed full-time. That full-time part is key. From 1971 to 2011. For those of you that might not be able to see the screen, the trend is downward facing dramatically. It went from about close to 80% to now we're right at the 50% level. And that's just comparing all faculty positions, right? How many
Right.
of those are actual full-time positions? So Jeanette, I just laid a lot of data on you. What does this say
Right.
to you about how the state of, I guess, the academic career track?
Yeah, well, it's very difficult. There's not much available for PhDs within academia, and what is available isn't desirable, right? Do you want a part-time adjunct faculty position where you're paid poorly,
Yes.
right? Where you're not given the
Right.
same benefits as, a full-time, potentially tenured professorship. And those are what we see completely going like down, down, down.
Yeah. And this is just a reality check. So sometimes we always say, like last week, I had all these professors contact me because we tend to be a little bit bold at Cheeky Scientists because when the data's on your
Right,
side,
and it's
you
their
can
only
afford to be
option.
bold, right? So we show this stuff. We say, hey, wake up! Like the academic career track is not there anymore. And all these professors and people are like, what are you talking about? There's increasing. No, they're not. And right, especially when you start digging into the data and looking at the ratios or looking at what these people are paid, looking at how they're changing the types of positions, the picture is very clear.
Absolutely.
These positions just aren't there anymore. And I'm just showing you on this figure. This is the most recent data from the National Science Foundation, showing what PhDs are paid in their postdocs,
That's so
what they're
great.
paid on average
Yeah, you
in
didn't skip
academia,
that.
or what they're paid in industry. You can see that whether it's the life sciences segment or physical sciences, mathematics, psychology, engineering, that your value in industry is much higher. Right? Overall, the average across all these disciplines is about $91,000 per year. If you're like me, I couldn't even fathom making that much my last year of graduate school. I don't know about you, Jeanette, but you think that, like, you hear that number, and you're like, this is fake data, fake news, not happening, no PhDs making that much money, impossible. But they are, and the postdocs, as a postdoc, you're paid half of that.
Right.
In academia, look at the blue bars are showing employed in an academic position.
So
They're
you
still
have and you're
way
in
lower
industry now,
than
right?
the pink bars, which are showing what you are paid in industry. So I wanted to touch on that briefly. And this is the last figure that we'll have time to show. I want to bring on Pascal Mueller, our first special guest.
Oh, okay.
But one thing that was brought up to me last week when all these professors were like yelling at me was, well, the real question is how many PhDs who want to be in academia, right, who want to be a professor, are actually getting
Okay.
into those. And so what they were assuming is that there's a
that's
lot of
great.
PhDs who come into academia and don't even want to go on the academic career track. Well, guess what? They're wrong. Because if you look at this data, right, early in your PhD, 80%, this is National Science Foundation data as well, 80% of PhDs when they come in to get their PhD are interested in an academic career. That's the path they want to
Right,
go.
and make
Even
money.
later, when things get worse, it's still
Like most of these
60%.
poor
And this
PhDs
mimics
are.
data that was shown by Nature, which said, where do you think you're going to end up in your
Exactly,
career? And
exactly.
I forget the exact number, but it was a very high number, well over 50% of PhDs said, I'm likely going to end up as a professor. Unbelievable, right? So Jeanette, what's your final conclusion here?
But you're misinformed, right? We're being misinformed and not really aware of what the actual state of academia is. And then when we find out, there is a lack of guidance from within academia to help us get out and find a good place to go afterwards. And
Perfect.
so, right now, that's going to take us into our next segment, where like, how can you shift out? How can you do that? Like, what can you make that transition
Exactly.
happen?
Yeah, so please do me a favor, and for those of you watching, you can thank Jeanette in the comments on
Right.
Facebook or YouTube,
Yeah,
or
I
you can
appreciate
just
that.
tell her thank you if
Really
you're
appreciate
a member and you're here
that.
on
And what's
Zoom.
your
Please
name?
thank Jeanette. But this is a great setup for our next two guests. Our first one is Pascal Mueller. We're going to talk about why things are bad in academia, what's really going on, and then we're going to talk about how to
I mean, really, I
transition
just wanted
into
to
an
know that you
industry
called and that you
industry
appreciate
job.
what he's doing.
So I'm going to jump right in.
Is there anything else that you want me to tell him?
I'm going to jump right into Pascal Mueller's bio. Pascal Mueller is a reporter for BuzzFeed News Germany. She covers violence and abuse of power. Before joining BuzzFeed News, she worked as a freelance journalist. Her features and investigations were published in Corrective, Taz, Tagesspiegel, Deutschlandfunk, Syria Deeply, am I getting any of this right? Middle East Eye, amongst many others. She's a multimedia
Right.
editor for the English
Right,
Arabic
and they're
Medium
more than just
Correspondence. She
academia.
has been responsible for features from Libya, Egypt, and Tunisia. Pascal is a grantee of the International
Well,
Women's
I
Media
appreciate
Foundation.
both so much, and I
She is an
will slide this
alumna
message
of the
over to
German
him.
Spiegel
And yeah, keep
Reporterschweig.
I
Lived in
appreciate it,
Germany,
and
I
you know
can't
where
say
to
the
contact
word
us if you have any questions.
and study at the Danish School of Journalism.
Alright,
So I'm really
thank you.
excited to
Bye-bye.
bring Pascal on. Before I bring her on live, what I want to do is I want to show the article that we're talking about here. that she wrote. I was asking the questions in relation to. So this is the one, BuzzFeed News. A star scientist from the Max Planck Society allegedly harassed and bullied her colleagues. Now, this is something that I think there ended up being a couple of posts about, and there's actually been a retort of kinds, sorts in Nature. There's been a lot of great conversation surrounding this. I'm really, really happy that this story came out. Now, as a PhD, I had, this won't surprise you, but I had a lot of people say, oh, well, it's BuzzFeed News. Right? They said, and I want to say, look, who do you think breaks stories like this? Do you think, Science or like Cell Press is going to break a story about a professor, being emotionally abusive or allegedly abusive? No, it's going to be a multimedia outlet. It's going to be a news organization, right? There's not peer-reviewed studies for this kind of news, and I'm very, very happy and proud and really, really honored to have Pascal on, because I'm sure this was not something that was very exciting to maybe some of her editors. I'm sure she wasn't like, oh yeah, this is going to be the hottest story of the month, right? But they broke it anyway, and it had a great response, and it was really, really important to get out there, because the stuff that goes on in academia, like many of you know, is hidden. And as PhDs, we're afraid to say anything, right? Whether it's, a bad PI, and of course there's a lot of great PIs, a lot of great mentors, but if there is something going on in academia, it's more likely to be hidden. And why is it different? And I get this a lot too, is like, well, this happens in business too. Why is it different? Because people in these institutions are they're some of the smartest people out there, right? So why would this happen? Why would smart people stand for this? And B, a lot of these people are students, or they're postdocs, which are defined as training positions. So abusing a trainee versus an employee is even worse in my book, and that's why we're calling attention to this. So Pascal, great to have you on. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So, yeah, I've been really excited about this. Thanks for working with our team for the sound checks and everything, and thank you for your great work on the story. I'm really interested to hear, kind of the process of how this story broke. You said that you probably thought this would be a pretty small story, not a big deal, and the response kind of surprised me. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so originally we got onto the story because we got a tip, people were contacting us. It's something that we looked into, and people said, hey, there is a problem of bullying and harassment at an institute of Max Planck Society. And the story that you just showed up on the screen is about an astrophysicist, Gunnar Kaufmann, who is a really well-known scientist in astrophysics. And when we came out with that story, saying that, allegedly she had been bullying people for years, afterwards I got a tremendous response. I had, hundreds of people from within MPG or, Max Planck Society reaching out, saying that they had similar problems in their institutes, that they were from other research organizations. So then, since then, we've been working a little bit on science, and we published another very similar investigation on a Max Planck Institute for brain sciences.
Yeah, and so what's interesting is, and this is kind of the way that it always works, is when things start bubbling up, and maybe, we have a lot of PhDs on, so they're not going to understand the world of news or media or journalism, but usually there's, something's happening, it's bubbling up, and then a story like this breaks where it's usually somebody, a big name, which gets people's attention, right? And it gives awareness to a segment of the population that had no idea this was going on. And is that what you saw after publishing the article?
Absolutely. I think what we saw is that in Max Planck Society specifically, because that's the research organization I can speak for, there is a systemic issue of abuse of power, because so many people reached out to us, and that was something that I think the Max Planck Society didn't know, that people working there weren't aware of, because they were kind of isolated. Everybody's known institute, and surely the German public didn't know that, because it's publicly funded research institute, and it gets a lot of money from our government. That became really relevant, not only to the people affected by bullying.
What were some of the most surprising things that you heard when the report started coming in? Because for a lot of people who haven't read the article yet, can you talk a little bit about what exactly this professor was allegedly doing and some of the things that shocked you the most?
Yeah, so there was a lot of allegations of blackmail in emails, of making people work really long, of having really
really unrealistic expectations of what people should like work, how much they should work. There was racial slurs that we saw, so that's not allegations. We saw the emails. There was like homosexual people being bullied in emails, and so that was like a lot of things going on that I think are quite drastic, and I think that like one email that includes a racial slur might not sound that big, but like if you have multiple people telling you that and then you see all of the things together, you can see how that creates an environment where people started to have mental problems, anxiety. They left academia. Some of them said that like they were so passionate about astrophysics, and then like after they've been at the institute, they left science altogether, and they were really frustrated.
And I think, that is why we're talking about this, because you have these highly intelligent people doing great work. Doing work they love for, let's face it, not a lot of money, and, working in these conditions, and they get bullied out. It's like a professor like this gets a free gift of somebody who loves science and, loves what they're doing and works really hard and is willing to accept less pay, but yet they decide to bully them. So I have a couple of questions to that. One, why do you think these highly intelligent people take the abuse?
I think it's because exactly of what you said, because people are really idealistic. They come to the institute and or like any research organization or university, and they really love what they're doing, and I think they can contribute not only to science, but in many places also to like contribute to society, the world in some way, doing their research. And they are really young, and they're very not knowing of the structures that can help them. So I think this is why people are not reaching out. Like a lot of the people affected were actually also international students that didn't know really well the laws in Germany or the laws within the research institute, so they didn't reach out to any sort of like support systems because they weren't being made transparent to them. So I think it's a mixture of these things.
And that's something we talk about a lot, right? Because whether it's in the U.S. or Germany or elsewhere, as an international PhD, there's a bigger fear. If you get kicked out of the lab, you're also getting kicked out of the country. So the amount of abuse that we will see against a lot of international PhDs, but also, local as well, is pretty astounding. So my other end of that question is, why do you think, and I know this might be your first kind of exposure to this, but certainly I'm guessing since then you've heard that it's happened elsewhere, etc. Why do you think PIs do this? Why do you think it's a problem in academia, especially when they're trainees and they're students and they're professors? Do you think it's just that we get too narrow-minded on just the data and the science and the field, and we don't think about the human element, or what's your perspective?
Yeah, so I felt like a lot of people were just like, a lot of it comes down to like lack of control and bad management. So like a lot of these people were excellent scientists, but they were really bad bosses. And that is one thing, being a bad boss, but then if you're a bad boss who has no control and no oversight, which comes with like very hierarchical scientific system in Germany, then it's very easy to just like start behavior that you were never sanctioned for. And I feel that is something that happened in these cases, that there is like no external control of the power of these PIs.
Well said, yeah. And the system is it's broken. And we talked about how it's been broken otherwise in terms of PhDs, getting into jobs and careers and stuff, but I think it's also broken in terms of management training. Like, you can get a grant for millions of dollars, zero management training, zero financial training. It's crazy, because you're a good scientist. And so when the careers of highly driven people are put into your hands, like you really do hold the keys in a sense to whether or not these people get their PhDs, move on, their postdoc positions, etc. There just needs to be a higher level of responsibility. So Pascal, really, really great to have you on. I do want to end by asking you, how can PhDs reach out to you? And not you specifically, but how can they reach out to journalists? How can they reach out to get help in this situation? Because I know you said a lot of them were very reluctant. Yes?
Yeah. So there is, for example, really good ways to reach out to journalists on Signal. I think many investigative journalists these days, you can find them on Twitter. We have a special investigations team for science at BuzzFeed, which is headed by Azine. And like, I think that is a contact we could also share. Of course, people could reach out to me. And like, Signal makes it really easy for people to talk to us because it's anonymized, it's encrypted. And a lot of people were reluctant because they were afraid that they would be identified, and they were career, which is bulk by they're not reporting internally. So that is a good way to reach out. And of course, if people have already left and they still feel they want to talk, they can of course get in touch via email. And I think the important thing is like to give initial tips, because this is how we build stories. So even if you don't want to be part of the story yourself as somebody who's being quoted, just send us an email and like we can take it from there. That's really, if you know something's going on, that is really important, because we rely on the people from the inside to say, hey, things are happening, because we're not there when they happen.
Yes, and I'm just going to say, for all of you listening, watching, you can report what's going on to people where your messages are encrypted. I want to encourage you to do that, whether it's Pascal or BuzzFeed. We're going to put some links in where you can reach out to essentially their kind of tip input website, right? I'm guessing it's a website. Again, it's encrypted. You won't be quoted. You have to get this information out there. Whatever country you're in, if you're experiencing this, if you know somebody that's experiencing it, tell people. Access the links that we're going to send you. Contact Pascal. You can find her on LinkedIn too. Pascal, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Please thank Pascal in the comments section if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or our private group, and certainly in Zoom. Thank her too. Really, really excited to have her on. So I'm going to jump over to our next guest here, who's been waiting very, very patiently. We're bringing back on Don Asher. So very excited to have Don on again. I'm going to pull up his bio here very, very quickly. He has quite the impressive bio. This is his second week in a row on with us. So for those of you that were here last week, please say hello to Don a little bit early in the chat box as I go through this. We are public now, so I'm going to read through Don's bio again to make sure the public knows how much of an expert Don is. So he is an internationally recognized author and speaker on the topics of careers in higher education. In America, he's well known as America's Job Search Guru. He assists C-level executives as well as MBAs and PhDs in their careers and their career development. He recently served as the content architect for Elite Optimization Services, EOS, provides career development to even Olympic athletes. His book, Cracking the Hidden Job Market, huge bestseller. Check out that book. He's also published The Overnight Resume, How to Get Any Job, Who Gets Promoted, lots of others, as well as Asher's Bible of Executive Resumes. He's been published, I think, 12 books overall in English, French, German, Italian, Japanese, Chinese, Korean. Every time I read this, I feel depressed because my book's published in like three places, two maybe. And he has like so many. It's amazing. Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Arabic, and Portuguese. He was named a career mastermind by the award-winning web portal Quint Careers. He has been published as a columnist, or he's been featured in lots of media, everywhere from U.S. Airways to Wall Street Journals, Career Journal, College Journal, college.monster.com, monster.com, careerbuilder.com, Wet Deep Job Star, Dow Jones, Managing Your Career Magazine, National Business Employment Weekly. He's been quoted in the Wall Street Journal itself, Investors Business Daily, New York Times, USA Today, Boston Globe, and Mail Canada, The Guardian in the UK, Salary.com, US News and World Report. Not done yet. Forbes, Fortune, Money Magazine. So he is the expert here, Don Asher. You can find him online. Check out his books. He's on LinkedIn as well. He's the master. I think he just, I forget the exact date on to ask him of getting his PhD, but he recently got his PhD. So very, very excited about that. He is a featured speaker over 150 times per year, including recent lectures in Canada, Mexico, India, China, South Korea, Morocco, Ireland, and Germany. So very, very international. He lives on Cape Cod and in Reno, Nevada, and he is American Airlines Seat 3 candidate. He travels in his own seat. So welcome again, Don. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks so much, Isaiah. Can you confirm that you can hear me okay?
I can hear you, and I appreciate you jumping on. I know that you are traveling currently. No big surprise there. So Don, we talked a lot about why things are really breaking down in academia for PhDs and why they're transitioning into industry, and now I want to talk to you about the how. And the big part of the how that is really it's kind of like a black box that I want to demystify is accessing the hidden job market. So can you explain what the hidden job market is first?
Well, the hidden job market is the largest part of the job market. The part of the job market that people interact with is just barely the tip of the iceberg. So around 80% of jobs go to someone who did not find out about that job and applied for it online. They did not find a posting. They found the job on their own. So the hidden job market is all the jobs that change hands before they're advertised, all the jobs that go to inside candidates before they're advertised. And it also includes those advertised jobs that go to someone who didn't have anything to do with the advertisement. So the job may have been advertised, but the person who got the job did not respond to any posted opening. So the hidden job market is the biggest part of the job market. And for PhDs in particular, I say the key is that the competition is vastly reduced in the hidden job market. You're not dealing with 300 resumes in a stack. In the hidden job market, most jobs that trade hands with about 3 to 5 competitors. So that's way better than 300 competitors, 400 competitors, and some of the data I've seen up to 500 competitors for a position.
Yeah, and that's the same data that we've seen. So this is really important. I'm going to just reiterate this very, very slowly. If you're just uploading resumes online, you are severely limiting yourself because most of the jobs that are available are not posted online. If they're not posted online, they're part of this sector called the hidden job market. Now, Don's saying around 300, 400, 500, I mean, we've seen as high as thousands, depending on the sector and the position, of resumes can come in for a single job. That's the competition you have if you're just uploading resumes, and why you probably shouldn't hurt anything back. But if you can get access to the hidden job market, and we're going to talk about how to do that in a second, you're only competing with 3 to 5 people who are also accessing the hidden job market for those jobs. So very, very important for you to understand. As a PhD for PhD level jobs, very hard for you to get a PhD level job without accessing the hidden job market. So Don, you know what it is now. How do you start to access it? How do you change your mindset, or what are some of the first things you can do?
Well, I think I still want to drive a stake into the heart of the posted openings, Isaiah. If we can spend just a minute more
Yes.
talking about who wins when there's posted openings. The people who get jobs from posted openings are basically a perfect candidate that has just been doing for 3 years exactly the job they're applying for, and they have a track record in that. So a typical example is they're doing high net worth income taxes, and they're applying for another job doing high net worth income taxes, and they're a CPA, and there's no reason in the entire universe not to view them as a perfect candidate. Because when you can collect 500 applications, you can decide you only want to hire people that are 5 foot 6 inches tall to 5 foot 8 inches tall. You can decide you want to hire only left-handed people. So all PhDs are going to be disadvantaged in a file like that because what they were trained for is not what they're going to do next. And so they have to get out of this mindset that the jobs are in the overt job market. They have to let that go. And sometimes I spend half of a presentation to PhDs explaining that they must let go of the overt job market, or they simply will. You can apply for jobs forever in your pajamas online and never get a single call.
Yeah, that is driving it home, and I appreciate you doing that because you're right. We, as PhDs, we always think, well, I'm the exception. Like I'm really good at writing, and I'm comfortable with it because I need to get published, right? And so writing is my wheelhouse. I'm going to sit down. I'm just going to upload 1,000 resumes. I'm going to beat it with hard work. And we've literally had people come into our association who have uploaded thousands of resumes. Guess what? No job. So I think that's really important. I'm glad you drove that home. But it's a little bit depressing. So where do you go from there, especially if you're a PhD who maybe has never gone to an actual networking event outside of a scientific conference?
Well, there's a couple ways. Let's start with having a target versus not having a target. If you don't have a target yet, then it's you approach people simply to ask their advice. And the key phrase when you send these kinds of networking emails out is I'm not looking for a position with your organization or with your team. I'm just seeking your advice. If you put that in your reach outs, you'll have a much higher response rate. If people can smell that you're actually trying to get a job with them, they're going to avoid talking to you because they don't want to tell you no. No one wants to tell you no.
Yeah.
But everyone wants to help. So if you ask it the right way, you can change your response rates massively. So you simply say, I'm a PhD, the academic career is fine, but it's not what I want long term. And I'm looking for opportunities outside the academy. Would you have a moment to discuss with me what advice you might have for me? We can talk about what I think my skills are, where you think those might be utilized. I'm not applying for a position with your organization. I simply want your advice. When could we next connect by phone or Skype? And if you use that query, you're going to get a response rate that's reasonable. But even there, reasonable is pretty small. So if you sent out, let's say, 25 of those, you might get 2 people that said, yeah, I'll talk to you on the phone.
Yeah, and so let me just break this down, because I can tell you, for those of you watching, especially publicly, those of you in the association, you've been trained on, not to do this. But we see a lot of messages come in. I see a lot from my LinkedIn profile that say, I'm so-and-so, here are my skills, I'm perfect fit for this job, will you give me a job, here's my resume. Like, that is the first message sending to somebody. And as PhDs, I think we hit desperation mode right after we defend our thesis or after our lab runs out of funding for our postdoc, whatever it is. And then we just, in desperation mode, it's hard to think clearly, it's hard to add value first, it's hard to even say the caveat of, I'm not looking for a job with you, I just want advice. So it's really important that you look at this as a long-term strategy. You don't wait until you're about to be unemployed to start accessing the hidden job market. Like Don said, a simple shift in your perspective and your timing and what you're saying can have dramatic impact. And we see it all the time. If you reach out and just tell somebody good job on something, or if you just say, hey, I'm not looking for a job at your organization, just looking for some advice, that's actually adding value. People love to give advice. They're just hoping most of the day, please somebody ask me about something I'm an expert in so I can just blab about it. Like, really, this is how most of us go around without realizing it. And so give them that opportunity. Don't act like you want anything. They don't want to help you get a job. They don't want to do work to get you a job. But people will talk very, very easily. So I think that's a good point, Tom. What's next?
Okay, so that's if you don't have a target. And I think that the PhD should be doing this on the side anyway. The median career to a research scientist in the academy is only 11 years. So even the ones that find tenure track and find tenure and find a lab and become a PI, even they need to be looking on the side anyway, because it's just a normal transition. It's absolutely normal to say, okay, I did academe, I had a good time, I learned a lot, I made a difference, but I'm going to move on. Yeah. So everybody should be doing this. So now let's say you develop a target, and I don't care what it is. Maybe you want to be a compliance officer for research grants and work in industry. So that's your idea. So then the next thing you need to do is find people that are doing the exact job that you want to do. The ideal person to find is someone 3 to 5 years ahead of you. So if you can find people 3 to 5 years ahead of you, that's perfect. Why? Because they know what the keys to entry are. They know where the back door is. They can tell you the combination lock to the side door that goes into the alley. So when you find somebody that's really senior, maybe you find an R&D director, and they got their PhD 25 years ago, they can't tell you how to get started in the organization because they got started so long ago. So your very best networking contact is somebody 3 to 5 years ahead of you that will talk to you, and it's the same approach, but you're now targeting. I break the whole world down into 4 categories, and I suppose we should talk about what those 4 categories are. But this is category number 2. So category number 4, I should do them in order. Can I just start over?
Yeah, let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, the whole world of human beings can be divided into these 4 categories. Category 1, a hiring authority. That's someone, if they like you, they can say, okay, boom, you're hired. You start on Monday, your compensation's 120, here's your benefit package. That's a hiring authority. They don't have to go to anyone else to hire you. Number 2 is a person in the right industry, but not a hiring authority. And from my mind, that's somebody 3 to 5 years ahead of you. That's somebody that can tell you where that side door is, what the keys for entry are.
Got it.
And that's very, very fruitful. I do want to say this. Hiring authorities are rare and precious, so I wouldn't do my practicing on hiring authorities. If you're going to practice, you practice on people who are in the right industry, but not in a position to hire you.
I like that.
I also want to bring this up because it comes up from time to time. The source of the information is independent of the value of the information. So a lot of times people will say, I don't want to talk to that person, they're just a clerk. Or I don't want to talk to that person, they're just an intern. Oh my goodness, that intern can tell you exactly how to get hired by that organization. So don't be biased, don't be classist, don't be elitist. Talk to anybody in an organization that's on your target list if they can tell you where that side door is.
Can I just, let me just reiterate, don't be elitist. For sure, as PhDs, we get on LinkedIn, we see our contacts, and we're like, oh, they're the CEO, oh, they're the director, these are the only people I can talk to. No, they're probably the worst people, you're never going to get a hold of them. The interns, people that are in the positions you want to get in the entry level, right, PhD level positions, those are the people. That's such an important point. I just wanted to stop you. But yeah, number 3, good stuff.
Okay, great. Number 3 is an interesting category that was identified by Malcolm Gladwell, who consolidated some information that was floating around in social sciences. And these are called centers of influence, mavens, boundary spanners, and people collectors. So they're a type of person. They predate the internet. The type of person predates the internet, but they're people who have thousands of followers that they have influence over. And so, I have a friend that's a movie producer, and he calls everybody on his list every 6 months. I caught him doing it to me. And I said to him, I said, hey, you're calling me every 6 months. I could keep the calendar on. And he said, I know, but I think you're important, and I think you're going to keep being important, and I want you to be able to keep taking my calls. So I said, what is the value of this network you have? And he said, well, I make movies, and if I need a Japanese trick cowboy roper tomorrow at 3 o'clock, I can make 3 phone calls, and I can produce a Japanese person who is an aficionado of the American West and can do road trips. Does that. So he said the value to my network is priceless to me as a movie producer.
Wow.
So these centers of influence, if you have one that's in your pocket, that's on your team, they can keep you busy night and day talking to the right people by introducing you to them. So they know as many as 10,000 people. Regular people know a few hundred people, but they know as many as 10,000 people.
Wow.
So Bill Clinton was one. He was famous for being able to meet 50 people and then remember all 50 of their names and their type of employment. And then the 4th category is everyone else on the planet. So that's the other 7.5 billion people out there. So those are the 4 categories. So you want to spend as much, if you have a target, you want to spend all your time in category 2 and category 3. So if you have a target, you're using the same technique. But I guess I got a lot on my mind, I say, and I'm jumping around.
No, this is good. So I think, I just want to reiterate, I think that 2nd category is crucial, right? You want to find people that are in the industry. So when we talk about working your way to an employee referral, setting up an informational interview, who are you setting that up with? You're not setting up an informational interview with the hiring manager, with the category 1 that Don's talking about. Hiring authority, that's not who you're doing an informational interview with, what doesn't make sense. That's for the actual interview. How do you practice for that? Category number 2. Right, you set up an informational interview with people that are in the right industry, but not a hiring authority. It could be an influencer too, either way, but you're learning information. If anything, you're also having kind of a mock interview. Very often those might turn into interviews. Certainly they'll funnel you towards that 1st category. And that's really the key of how you access the hidden job market. You have to get access to these people. Don't overthink it. It's really just setting up, reaching out, adding value, starting conversations, and getting on the phone or sitting down with somebody for what we call as an informational interview.
That's perfect. And I want to bring this up because it comes up all the time. You don't need to know a soul to build these kinds of networks.
Yeah.
Some people say, I'm an international student. I don't know anyone at Georgia. Here I am at Georgia Tech. How in the world can I do this? Let me just describe the process I did recently with someone in real estate. She graduated with a master's in city planning, and she wanted a job in real estate doing golf course development in the state of California. And she didn't really know anyone because city planning and development are two completely different, not completely different, but they're different fields.
Yeah.
So she made a list of 200 firms, mid-size and smallish, not the 200 biggest firms, but so these firms are medium-sized. The developers don't actually swing hammers. So the size of these companies was 20 to about 125 people. And then she found on the internet 2 emails off of their websites. So that's 200 organizations, 400 emails. She tried to pick 1 junior person and 1 senior person from each organization. It's easy enough to do this. It's labor intensive, but if you go to a website, you can find a couple of emails, especially for these medium-sized firms. And then she wrote a letter to all 400 of them, an email that said, I've graduated from Cal Berkeley, I've attached my CV, let me know if anything comes to mind. So she did this manually, no MailChimp, no nothing. She did it manually. Wow. So that's 400 emails she sent out. Nothing happened, not a single callback. So I said, okay, start writing to them every 2 weeks. So next time she wrote to them, we put a little line in her email that said, I've updated my resume since we last had contact. Now the last contact was the last email.
Yeah.
So there was no what you might call face-to-face or met at a conference. But she sent these out every 2 weeks and said, I've updated my resume since we last had contact. Now, I say I don't let people tell lies when they're in a job search. So I said, you got to change your resume. She said, I don't want to change my resume, it's perfect. I said, change some small little thing. You can change it back and forth, it doesn't matter, but you got to change something if you say you changed something. So it took a while, and this is important for all of your listeners and watchers to know. This takes time.
Yes.
She was dedicated to this process. It took 6 months. That's 12 times she mailed this stuff out.
Wow.
And toward the end of this, she began to receive tips from people all over the state of California. They would write to her and say, hey, I heard about an opening here. I heard about a company that's doing a big new development there. And these people didn't know her, but they began to think they did know her.
Yes.
Because every couple of weeks she was sending them something. So the end result was she got a call from a headhunter, which is very rare for a brand new grad student to get a call from a headhunter. The headhunter said, you must be special. I got your resume from 6 different people. So that was the power of this network she had built, this 400 people all over the state of California, from scratch without knowing a soul.
Amazing story. And this is exactly the strategy you need to apply, right? So I think the key point here, it's going to take a little bit of effort to get that flywheel going, but once it's going, the results can be dramatic. And this is a dramatic change you're trying to make. You're trying to get into a job that's, you're trying to go from, let's say, a PhD stipend of $19,000 to a job of $91,000 industry average, right, if you're a STEM PhD. So this is a big deal. And you're trying to get your first real high-level industry job where you'll never go back to not having that level of industry experience again. You'll never go back to having to ask yourself the question, did I make a mistake in getting my PhD, etc. So great stuff. Don, we are running out of time, but I want to show this slide that you sent us. I'm going to share the screen here, and we can end on this if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Shall I just talk about what's going on in this slide?
Yes, please.
Okay, now this is an example of getting something on your resume that matches your job target, not your PhD training. So this is very impressive. It says summer 2017, a person went to a site review. That's a version of shadowing. So this person simply went and visited someone in their office for an afternoon in New York City that's in commercial real estate. I made up the content, but the point is well taken. So the person toured the real estate brokerage. They learned of economic development services that the brokerage uses through their own staff and through agencies. They looked at a marketing campaign and said, I don't know, looks okay to me. And they attended a pitch. If you're wearing a suit, a lot of times people will drag you along to a meeting if you just promise to keep your mouth shut and make it quiet. And they watched some negotiations over a flagship sale. All of this happened in one afternoon, and now about 10 lines at the top of the resume is all of this stuff. This is one day. And this is how somebody with a PhD can start to show both interest and knowledge of the area that they're targeting when it comes to the hidden job market.
Yeah, and so this is a beautiful example. I'm really glad Don added this. In fact, he added it. It was so good, I was like, I don't understand this. That's how good it was. Because you can add this language. If you position yourself correctly, if you use the right language, it has a big impact. One thing Don's great at is asking the exact right question and using the exact right language. So site review, very professional. It sounds like it's important and relevant and professional to the field. It's not just like shadowing, right? So using that language is important. And it's connected to the job you want to get into. So, for example, you want to get into a biotech job working at a pharmaceutical company. Try to shadow somebody at a pharmaceutical company. Try to come in and just get a tour of the facility. And that is a site review. And try to talk to somebody. Maybe you'll get to go into a couple of meetings. Play the card that you're a student or a postdoc, or you're not yet in industry, you're not yet seen as a competitor. These are the things that Don has taught us before. I think this is a great example and something that we'll definitely have to come back to in the future. So Don, great work. I really appreciate having you on. Thank you so much for adding so much value as usual.
I say anytime. It's my pleasure. I really respect your people.
Thank you, Don. And please do me a favor and thank Don in the chat box. For those of you that are in Zoom, our members, I appreciate that. And if you're watching on YouTube or in the private group, or if you're on Facebook, please comment and say thanks, Don. And you can find Don on LinkedIn as well. So what we're going to do here, we got about 10-15 minutes. We have an extra guest. We want to do a LinkedIn profile review, something we like to do live. We're going to show you some of our techniques, our strategies, things to look out for your LinkedIn profile. Vanessa, what are we going to do first? Are we going to bring on Owendry, or are we going to do LinkedIn?
Come on, yes. We're going to do a LinkedIn profile first.
Okay,
followed by
we're gonna do LinkedIn, okay, and I wanna say real quick, we had Dr. Jamie Ann Ernest call in to say she loves the cheeky message, and, it agrees that the problem is awareness, so for those of you that heard the phone call earlier, that was the phone call. Thank you for calling in, Jamie Ann, you should have stayed on, maybe you can call back later, we're gonna be on for probably another 20 minutes or so. We do wanna take some phone calls for those of you that are on, if we have time. We really appreciate you calling in. So, we have on Mary. I'm going to open up the LinkedIn profile that we're going to review. I think we have time for one today. We're going to do Luisa Torres. So I'm going to share my screen here. Hi, Mary. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Hi, everyone.
Good, good, good. Thanks for being on live with us. So, do me a favor. For those of you that are watching us on Zoom, can you let me know if you can see my screen? Make sure we're not freezing here. We okay? We are okay. Maybe. Mary, are you seeing me okay? Might be.
Yeah, bad timing, eh?
Am I delayed a little bit?
You're just fine on my end, so I think it's my end.
No, I think it's mine too. The chat isn't showing up here. Okay, there we go. We might be back in action. So you can all see. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Hoda. I really appreciate that. Okay, so we have Luisa Torres. Luisa is a Cheeky Scientist Associate. You can see her industry trained badge here at the bottom. Thank you, Luisa, for volunteering to have us go through your profile. We're going to add as much value as we can here. We have Marion, who is our LinkedIn expert. Luisa, we're not even connected. I'm going to connect with you. I'm going to add a note. This is a good teaching point. When connecting on LinkedIn, don't just press the button, right? Always send a personal message. Start to build rapport. I'm going to say, hi, Luisa. You're on the show with us live right now, and we are going to review your profile. It's great to have you in the association. All right. So, we'll be connected. I got to go back to her profile here. What were some of the things that you saw initially, right, just with this top? So this is called, like, in the resume, we call this the visual center, but really it's the visual center of your LinkedIn profile, too. It's just like the top section that has your picture, your headline, the banner, etc., the first line of your summary. What was your overall impression, Mary?
Super professional, really good. That the profile photo, smiling, professionally dressed, looks very approachable.
Yes.
Yes, the background photo, I think it's Daphne staining and something in the cytoplasm. I'm not really sure what it is, but it looks really nice. And it makes me want to look at more, so look more at the profile, so that's good.
Great, yeah, so the professional picture is really important. And we've brought on specialists to talk about this, but it really comes down to good lighting. Just face a window if you have to, or have it done outside with a blank wall or a wall with one color behind you. Make sure that, you know, every part of your face is visible. It just displays trust, it displays professionalism, dress the way you would dress for an interview. Really well done. Make sure you have a banner picture in the background that's not the stock LinkedIn banner. Stand out in some way. If you want it to be sciencey, that's fine. Remember, you can also add text to this banner. Have a picture made. Do it in PowerPoint. Put your name and a couple of bullet points, right, if you're openly looking for jobs, with the things you want to be known for, your professional brand. On that note, too, you want to put some of those key things in your headline. So what are some things that we want to see in the headline that are here and are not here, Mary?
How you identify yourself, what's your job title, your future job title, what's a transferable skill that you should be known for that's key for the position that you're seeking, and something maybe a little personal about a hobby so that when we connect, we have something to build on, we can have a conversation, to show that you're a person.
Perfect. Mary, are you in a library?
I am.
Yes. How can I get Mary to yell? Let's see. Somebody
The
comes over.
librarian told me it was okay.
All right, so the headline is crucial. Why? Because LinkedIn weights the headline more importantly than any other part of your LinkedIn profile. What do I mean by weights? I mean the keywords that are in your headline, they're the words that are going to have the biggest impact on your searchability. Most PhDs are invisible on LinkedIn. Hello, if you're watching this live from the public and you haven't had a recruiter or anybody contact you on LinkedIn despite your great skill sets, guess what? You're invisible. If you have less than 500 connections, you need to get those up, right? Luisa is doing a great job. I think she had a couple of dozen. She's up to 244 now. You have an extra one as of a few minutes ago, me, Luisa, but we want to get that up to above 500. And for those of you that are in the association that are still working on this, It's crucial to do, so just stay on top of it, connect with other associates. For the rest of you watching, this is really, really important because once you hit that 500 mark, all of a sudden you're visible, right? You're going to hit LinkedIn's algorithm, which basically just means that when recruiters are searching for you, you're going to pop up. You also want to turn on your recruiter button, which we talk a lot about in the association. We don't have time to go into it now, but that's important too. Now, in terms of the keywords that are being searched, if I'm a recruiter, if I'm an employer, I'm using a different version of LinkedIn. This is like breaking news for some of you, okay? I'm not using the same LinkedIn most of the time. I'm using a different LinkedIn that has all these different search boxes that I can narrow down candidates, right? I can search specifically for PhDs and location, etc. As a recruiter, I have to fill positions quickly. The faster I fill positions, the better, because other people are trying to fill positions at different companies. What does this mean? Speed matters to me. Quality matters, but speed especially. This headline, you need to make things easy for them. Make it easy for them to find you. The fact that you have research scientists there is great. I'm not sure if that's the position you want to get into or if that's what you're currently doing, but it is important. So if you want to be a project manager, put that in your headline. Your headline's not your resume. What the first couple of things any recruiter is going to search for is the job title, right? They're trying to fill. If you don't have that in your headline, you're never going to show up. And the location, right? That's something that's missing here. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that, Mary.
Sure. Well, there is location underneath, but I think it scores higher in the search algorithm if you do put your location in the headline.
Yes.
And another little trick that's easy to do to increase your ranking as well is instead of using a symbol like a check mark, if you put that sort of vertical line, that's going to automatically make you rank higher. So
Yeah, and we saw in LinkedIn.
any little thing counts.
Yeah, LinkedIn's always changing their algorithm. We see like those vertical lines working better currently than the check marks. What I do like about this is that, content developer could be one of those hobby things, so that's great. Put something that differentiates you because the first people to read your LinkedIn profile, not PhDs, right? They're very likely hiring managers or recruiters who most often don't have PhDs. And what that means is they're going to be looking for something that makes them more comfortable with you. It's called rapport. It could be the fact that you are into arts and crafts. You played a sport, something, right? You're an avid hiker. I always tell people to use that one. If you walk somewhere during the day, you're an avid hiker, okay? It's easy to put, it's the truth. So that's important. I would also just reiterate on location again. We see this right now with hiring being so high in industry, we actually see location more important. If you're willing to relocate and you don't want to isolate yourself to one location, you need to do both. Still put at least one preferred location, or else you're not going to show up in any search. Put one preferred location, and then put the phrase, only 3 words, so it doesn't take up too much space, willing to relocate. Willing to relocate in your headline. Okay, Mary, what about the summary here? So tell us a little bit about the summary in terms of the new interface and why that first line is important and what you like and don't like about this.
So I don't know if my connection is clear here. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah? Okay. So you can see the first few lines of a person's summary and you have to click show me more. So the first few lines are the most important. And so you want to draw the reader in. So this should be your elevator pitch, the most important things that you want people to know about you. I am not sure the fact that you're a postdoc at that university is the most important thing for you to tell people. So I might remove that first sentence, and you could say, when I'm not doing research, I write. I mean, I think that's the position you're looking for, right?
Exactly. Yeah, so focus on where you're going, not where you've been. If you're focused on where you've been, that's fine in terms of like transferable skills. Because again, try to see it from your audience's point of view. They are somebody who is likely doesn't have the education level as you, so they're going to see PhD. Okay, they have the education box checked. I'm not trying to decipher their level of PhD-ness. Okay, we did this number of years of postdocs. We did this publication. Yeah, recruiter, hiring manager don't care about that. You have the stamp. You have the checkbox. You have the PhD. They know you either have the technical skills or can learn them. What they want to know is, can you function normally in a job, right? Are you going to be the awkward PhD or the arrogant PhD or defensive PhD that comes in and disrupts their team? Or do you understand how to speak the language of industry? You can talk about the things that are important, like results, like transferable skills, etc. Their first impression of this happens on LinkedIn in your headline, and then to a greater extent, once they're interested and they click see more, in your summary. So what else about the summary?
I just want to add too, it's not just for the recruiters that might be searching for your profile. You're trying to increase the number of connections. You're trying to build rapport with people. So you want them to see you already in that position. So I think that's key. So I see some numbers in there. I did actually look at Louise's profile a little bit before today, and she has blog posts, and that's great. And I think she could highlight them a little bit more, and sort of the university affiliation sort of decrease that in terms of how it stands out. So it's a little bit more some measurable results that relate to writing, because I think that's the kind of position that Louisa is looking for.
Yeah, so if you're looking for writing, and the medical writing industry is really hot right now, scientific editing, etc. These are it's a very hot field for PhDs. You need to just highlight what you've done that's relevant to that. I love the fact that there's numbers here, right? Don't think of as anything of being too small. The questions you want to really highlight your 3 biggest wins, right? Your 3 biggest career highlights need to go on your professional summary. Same with your resume for those of you that are familiar with the cheeky method, so to speak. And you definitely want to have lots of those results. You also want to think about your elevator pitch, like Mary said, where you can talk. I like to have your 3 biggest career highlights at the top of your summary, and then do a more personal elevator pitch at the bottom, like I'm so and so, where you talk about who you are, what you're looking for, and why they should care. That's a topic for another day, but I think you add those things to your professional profile and tease it out a bit more, you're going to be in an even better position.
ONG's ready whenever you are.
All right, so let's just go down to the bottom here really quickly. You have a lot of these accomplishment sections filled out. While we don't recommend putting a huge works cited section on your resume, linking them here in LinkedIn is smart. Your honors and awards, courses, etc. Don't shy away from putting the more personal stuff, like where's your volunteer experience, right? You've done something likely, very small. Don't just put like the volunteer organization. Map out what you've done specifically. And I guarantee you that you've done something. Think back, even if it's when you're younger, because that stuff's going to build that emotional connection. It's going to build rapport. It's going to show that you are a well-rounded PhD, which differentiates you from a PhD they might be concerned about as too narrow-minded and can't interact and communicate well with others. So really good stuff here. Mary, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Live from the library in, Ontario? Am I right?
Yes.
Nice, okay. So we're going to bring on Owen Dree now. Please say thank you to Mary in the chat box here in Zoom, or if you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, you can say thank you, Mary, too. You can connect with Mary Truscott on LinkedIn. How about that, Mary? Let's see how your connections go. So let's bring on Owen Dree now. So I'm very, very happy to have Owen Dree on. So Owen Dree, let me share my screen and give her bio as we get her pulled up here. Owen Dree is a Cheeky Scientist associate. She was struggling in her job search, but she met She met some puppies and got a job. All right, and we're going to talk about exactly how that happened. So Owen Dree completed her BS in physics, summa cum laude at the North Carolina State University, followed by her PhD in physics at Ohio State University. I love that she's in physics because a cheeky scientist, we always have people say, are you just life scientists? Nope, all kinds of STEM scientists. In fact, we have a lot of humanities people too. She is a particle astrophysicist, researcher, problem solver. She belongs in the TV show The Big Bang Theory. She is completing her dissertation, defense, and has already secured a position in the defense industry as a senior consultant. Okay, kind of a big deal. She is also is active in outreach as an outreach coordinator and public relations specialist, and in addition, mentored high school women during her PhD. So, thank you for coming on again, Owen Dree. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. You're a little bit quiet. If you could speak up a little bit louder, but I think we're going to be okay. So great to have you on. When do you start? When's your start date?
Next month, September 17th.
I love that. I love when there's like a little bit of gap, because then you just get to like enjoy and bask in the success right before you start. So tell me, I brought up puppies, right? One thing we're trying to talk about is how to access the hidden job market. How did some puppies help you access the hidden job market?
Yeah, so I was in graduate school. I was just working all the time. I didn't have much of a social life. I forgot who my friends were. And then one of my good friends in graduate school, who I actually also went to college with, so she's one of my best friends, she had puppies from 2 of her dogs this year. She has a lot of dogs. She keeps 1 puppy from each litter, so she has a lot of dogs. And I try to visit her whenever she has puppies, at least, I never see her otherwise, it seemed, in graduate school. And honestly, the day I was going to go, I almost didn't go because, it was a Friday. I had a rough week. I was dealing with my graduate school situation. Everyone has one. But so I almost didn't go, but then I ended up going. I was like, okay, I made a commitment. I try to keep to my commitments. And I went and I actually
ended up networking at this while holding these puppies and getting some puppy therapy because the person who referred me
Yes.
is her roommate. So I ended up meeting him. I knew him, but
Wait, let me break this down. So you went to go see some puppies that were born at your friend's house. Your friend's roommate ended up being the one that referred you for a job. Now, if you think there is a specific science to that, you're absolutely wrong. That's why networking is an art and a science, and really accessing the hidden job market comes down to what Don was saying, like these magic connections that just happen as you put yourself out there more and more. So continue. How did this actually break down the referral process a bit more? You came, saw the puppies, met the roommate, and how did you had some built-in rapport because you had a shared connection, right?
Yes.
And then what happened from there?
You know, and then honestly, this is how bad it was. I was just so tired. I was completely. I was at pretty miserable days in graduate school at that time, and I really was only able to apply to academics jobs at that time. I was really worried because of, the whole academia situation. Didn't think it would work out for me. But at the same time, I really did not have very many leads in industry. And then, so I hold these puppies, and I really wasn't speaking much that day either, if you can believe that. And see, I had so little energy. But then this guy, he had come to a few talks that I'd given in graduate school, and he sort of knew what I worked on, and he's the roommate now. And he started talking about his job, and he wasn't very. He had gotten this job back in February of this year, so he had been there a few months, and he started talking about how they're hiring people, and they need people in the specific sort of teams which relate well with my what I did in my PhD. So he knew what I had done in my PhD, and he thought I was a good fit for the role. I really did not know about the company that much, although they're a big company, so maybe I should have known about them. But he basically just gave me all this information, and I just sat there holding these puppies and listening. And it was really the next day that I decided that, okay, I learned so much, and he's been so helpful. I got to follow up. So I basically went home. The next day, I worked on my resume, and I sent him my resume, and I took it from there. And he gave me comments on my resume. He told me I needed a one-page resume for this role. I did not have a one-page resume at that point. Even in Cheeky Scientist, we usually do a two-page. But, if without his help, without this referral, I would have never known that this is the kind of thing that was needed. I needed to do a one-page. And he gave me, throughout the process of getting hired, it was really, really helpful to know
have
this
somebody
person.
on the inside, right? So, and I think that's a big part, and we didn't get a chance to talk about that in full with Don, but when you access the hidden job market, you start networking, you set up informational interviews, this person becomes your advocate. If you do it correctly, they become your advocate. They can give you insider information that's going to help you secure the job. It's not like you meet with them and then they refer you to the hiring manager and that's the end of it. You nurture and maintain this relationship. And again, you never know where this is going to come from. If you're thinking, wow, why would I go to any event that doesn't just have PhDs? Why would I go to networking events in general? Why would I reach out to this person? Why would I connect with this person on LinkedIn? This is somebody actually said this to me. Somebody in the fashion industry tried to connect with me, and I said no, because there's no way they can help you get a PhD level job. I said, are you crazy? It's not about the people that connect with you. It's about the connections they have too, right? The shared connections. So your roommate, for example, may not have been able to help you get a job, but she knew somebody. And that's the key to accessing the hidden job market. So, Andre, I really appreciate you coming on live. Thank you very much for waiting to come on. Please thank Andre in the chat box. And Andre, we're really excited for you to get started. So enjoy this month, all right? Have fun, celebrate multiple times. Please do me a favor and congratulate Owendry in the chat box on Zoom. If you're a member, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, please congratulate her too. And you can find Owendry on LinkedIn too. All right, more connections for you, more fun. So thank you very much, Owendry. Have a great day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we're going to wrap up here very soon. I do want to mention for those of you, we've had a couple of you ask some questions about the association. So I'm going to show you a page that you can go to learn more about the association. So the first one is just our website. If you go to cheekyscientist.com, you can see stories. We share a lot of our stories of PhDs like you who have transitioned successfully. So I'm going to share my screen here again. We'll wait for it to load. If you can't remember cheekyscientist.com, you can go to phdsgethired.com and you can get on our email list and we'll send you updates and free training materials there. This is our homepage. So you can download our free resume guide right here by clicking this blue button, or you can go down And we have all these free ebooks. These are very, very beautiful ebooks, free of charge. These are the kind of ebooks online where people are charging like 20, 30 bucks. You get them for free. Okay, if you want to know what the top 20 industry positions for PhDs are, click on that book. 40 networking scripts, all the networking done for you, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. The networking scripts that Don told us, a lot of them are in here. 20 transferable skills, a resume guide. You can get all of these. Just go to cheekyscientist.com. If you want to learn more about our members and PhDs who have transitioned and what they did, just go to the menu button at the top and click Stories. Okay? You can even get our free industry resume template by clicking this blue bar up at the top. Lots of free things for you. If you're interested in learning more about the Cheeky Scientist Association and how to join, there's a section here. If you go to PhDs Get Hired, it'll take you to this page that has all the information about our private program, the program that Owendry is in, the program that all of our members are in who get access to the chat box here, get access to Zoom, only our members do, so if you want to interact with us there, I'm going to send, actually our team will send this link to you so you can sign up, and you'll get all of our emails and stuff too. If you have any questions, if you're watching live and you want to call in, you get about 2 or 3 minutes. I'll save time to answer a couple of questions if there are any left. I know we've had a couple people call in already. You can do that, or you can type in your questions in any of the chat boxes, depending on where you're watching us. We have somebody there ready. Next, I want to share transitions. So we had a lot of people in our association transition in the last couple of weeks. I just want to congratulate some of them. I want to congratulate Alessandro Nesti, who transitioned into a role as a data scientist. Michelle, HT, transitioned into a role as a medical science liaison, one of the hottest jobs right now for PhDs. Actually, the two are. Data scientist, medical science liaison are the two hottest jobs right now for STEM PhDs. Congratulations to both of you. Karthik Pandalameni transitioned into a global food scientist role. Nicole Belanger transitioned into a clinical research supervisor role. Christine Leoff Dawson into a business development role, Swati Shukla into a project manager role, Anil Shukla into a senior scientist role. Congratulations to both of you. I shared their story on LinkedIn. They both transitioned together. This is a husband and wife team. That was amazing. Double transition. Damon transitioned into a senior scientist role, Gayendra transitioned into a scientist 2 role, and Suraj transitioned into a process engineer role. So congratulations to you. Congratulations to our Cheeky of the Week, Mark Rashadi. Thank you very much for adding so much value in the association's private group. We do appreciate it. And I want to say thank you to all of you for joining. If you're watching us on Facebook, thank you for joining. If you watched us on YouTube, great to see you on YouTube. Battery's low again. And thank you for watching in the private group. Is this it? Are we done? Is this the end? Vanessa? Did I miss anything?
I think this is the end. You're starting to get fuzzy too with your battery issues. So.
I think it was just on YouTube. Am I fuzzy here?
Okay. No,
So
you're
maybe
good.
we'll be able to fix it. So thank you everyone for coming on with us. We appreciate it.
We have one more thing though.
Oh
we have
yeah, we have a swag
swag.
winner. Thank you. That's right.
We have to announce our swag winner.
Let's
So
do
we
it.
actually have 2 this time.
2.
Roby Cable.
I didn't approve this.
Yeah, I know, but I just made an executive
Okay, great.
decision
Right.
with the Nature article where that everybody should check out, and then Serene Genesian, which I will pronounce that name more accurately and reach out and put it in the chat box here.
Perfect. So congratulations to both of you. So if you're thinking, what is a swag winner? So our members who are able to join live, we give them some goodies like this amazing journal. Remember your value as a PhD, and we have mugs and some other things, but we will send you out a gift for joining us live as a member. And I got to show this to the other views here. So, boom, there's the book. Really great to have all of you on today. Thank you for joining, and thank you for joining the first live Cheeky Scientist radio show. I really appreciate those of you who joined us on Facebook. Thank you for those of you who joined us on YouTube. For all the members, thank you for making this possible and for having such a great chat with us in Zoom. Thank you for the team. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Carissa. Thank you, Cheney. Thank you, Owendry, for coming on. Don, Pascal, thank you for coming on. Jeanette, Mary, Kathy, Jack, everybody that made this possible. We'll see you next time, and that's the end of this Cheeky Scientist Radio. We will be live again in a month. Goodbye.